Hi, how are
I hope
you?
people can hear me and that it's not too crazy. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm getting really bad feedback, so I'm
Okay.
going to try to make sure I can understand.
Well, thank you for being here. So I just, before we get started with our conversation, I hope I'm not killing you being too loud, but I wanted to just say a couple of things about Reach Out for our
Great.
viewers who are here. Reach Out is a website for young people who are going through a tough time. A tough time could be anything from dealing with bullying or issues with friendships. It could be dealing with an eating disorder. It could be feeling depressed or dealing with anxiety issues. We are the main project of an organization called Inspire USA. The Inspire organization started in Australia about 11 years ago, and we're just sort of getting our footing here in the US. And we're really excited to be doing this campaign with young adult fiction writers who often write about lots of tough times and teen angst. So we're glad Kimberly has joined us. And to start the chat, Kimberly, I'm thinking for anybody who hasn't read the book, maybe give us sort of a brief synopsis of, what happened so we know kind of what you're writing about, what you're talking about.
Sure. Exposed is the story of Elizabeth Grayson. She's a senior in high school and she's a budding portrait photographer. And in her work as a photographer, she's very confident about what she sees when she looks through the lens and what she thinks she knows about people. And very confident in her relationship with her best friend, Kate. But all of that confidence is called into question when Kate accuses Liz's brother of raping her. And suddenly Liz isn't sure anymore what she knows about anything. And so the novel really explores what it's like for her to be in that position, having to kind of figure out, is my brother a rapist or is my best friend a liar? And if I can't figure that out, what does that say about me?
So where did the idea come from for that plot line? It's pretty intense, and we know from our research that you started your career writing sort of picture books, that were kind of humorous and lighthearted, and this is obviously, moving into a bit darker territory.
Yes, it is. Well, actually, the way this novel came about initially was I was at a writing conference. I was working on picture books, and I met an editor there who I started talking with, and she was asking about my background, and I told her that I have a master's in social work and that I'm a child therapist. And at that time, she was asking about my specialties, and I told her that I really specialized in working with kids who'd been through trauma. And she told me, oh, if you ever decide to write a novel about rape, I would like to see it. And it was a topic that was always important to me, and I'd worked with a lot of kids who'd unfortunately been through that experience. So I thought if I was ever going to try a novel, that would be a good place to start. And so that was the initial impetus for writing the book. And things changed over time. I initially started writing the book from Kate, the best friend's point of view. And as I was doing that, I became more and more interested in what it would be like to be Liz. I think that's mainly because as a therapist, I sort of knew, and as a writer, I sort of knew where I wanted to see that story arc go, if I was going to write it from Kate's point of view. But taking that kind of sister best friend point of view was going to be something different and challenging for me. So I always do things the hard way, and I decided to take that point of view instead.
And what has the response been like from your readers, from, maybe teen girls especially? Has this resonated?
It has. It has. I mean, I've gotten some really nice feedback, so far from the book. The book hasn't been out that long. It just came out at the end of February, but teens have been responding well to it. And one thing that I'm really happy about is that it seems to be generating a lot of discussion. Things aren't tied up in a nice little bow at the end. And in some ways I did that on purpose because I feel like I don't want to write down to teens, and life doesn't always tie itself up in a pretty nice bow. So I left some things open for discussion, because the truth is, if you're not really there in the situation, you are dealing with a he said, she said type of thing that can be hard to navigate. And I also wanted to really get teens thinking about the different issues of sexual assault and the way it affects people differently. So, like I said, I left a lot of little tidbits in there that get kids asking the questions that I think they need to be asking. So.
And you talked about sort of not writing down to teens. How did you check yourself along the way? Like, did you have any teen readers, or were you just sort of going with your gut, or was it your editor that sort of helped you make sure you weren't doing that?
To be honest, a lot of it was my gut, and I think it's because I think my work with teens informed that in a big way. But also, I vividly remember, even though I'm too far out of those teen years than I'd like to admit, I vividly remember what it was like for me when I was a teen. And I tried to write a book for myself as a teen, something that would have resonated with me when I was that age. So, and I did have, right at the very end, I did have some teens looking it over just in terms of, language and the way I was trying to convey some issues, and luckily they seemed to think I had hit the nail on the head with that. So